Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are recording this presentation, so feel free to share it. And for anyone joining in later, it will be all fully recorded, so you can go back and take a look at everything that you missed. But thank you so much for coming to our CIEE College Fair. This session is our Conquer College applications, unraveling the jargon, timing, and secrets to success, all about college and learning about different tips and guidelines to help you through the process. Whether you're a freshman or a senior, it's never too early or late to take a look at what your future plans are. And we're so thankful to have you here. Like Bailey said in our chat, feel free to put in any questions that you have, and we will definitely do a Q&A at the end and definitely get all your questions answered. So here's our introductions. These are everyone that are going to be speaking today and guiding us through this presentation. I'm Ariel. I am the enrollment coordinator for our first year abroad and gap year abroad here at CIEE. So working directly with students who open applications and have any questions about the progress and application progress from beginning to the moment they get on their flight to leave a program. We also have Molly. She is going to be speaking from Wyndham High School. She's a school counselor. And then we'll also have Tyler. He's a senior assistant director of undergraduate admissions at New York University. And then we'll have Justin and Sarah. They are also part of the CIE team doing professional development. So we'll get to hear from all these people today, guiding us through the whole college application. So here's our agenda. We're going to do an overview of the application process, application details, the essay, the key application components, tip for your college application, CIE post-high school programs, and then we'll do a Q&A. All right, so we're going to get started, and Amali is going to start us off with things to consider when selecting colleges to apply to.
Thanks, Ariel. So hi, everyone. My name is Molly Glaus. I am a school counselor at Wyndham High School. It's a public high school of around 1,000 students located in a suburb of Portland, Maine. So just starting off, we're going to talk about some things to consider when selecting which colleges to apply to. As Ariel mentioned, this is a process that as a school counselor, I love to start discussing with students freshman year. That being said, I always tell people that our brains don't stop developing until we're 24, and it's totally normal to even senior year not know the answer to some of these questions and to feel really overwhelmed by this process because there are so many different types of colleges out there, and it's so personal, and what's going to be a good fit for you is not what's going to be a good fit for everyone else. But some of the top things that I think we can consider when you're looking and starting this college search process. First of all, just the location. Is there a region of the country? Is there a state that you feel most comfortable in or you've always wanted to be in? Do you want to be in an urban area, suburban area, rural, more of a traditional college town? What climate would you like to be in? Obviously, living here in Maine, I always tell students, visit some of our colleges in March, April. Anywhere is going to look gorgeous in July, but you'll really get a sense of what it's like different times of the year. And then affordability, of course, this is a big one. Obviously, for most people, your flagship in-state tuition is going to be the most affordable option. However, if you are a student who has put yourself in a position where you're going to qualify for merit scholarships, oftentimes some of our nation's private institutions with large endowments have more to offer in terms of merit scholarships, and that can really make the price of attending those schools similar to your in-state institutions. And then also thinking about your return on investment. That upfront cost is not always going to tell the whole picture, and it takes a little more work and research, but really looking into what's my return on investment in attending the school going to look like. One of the most obvious is the degree program. If you already know what you want to major in, don't consider a school that doesn't have that major, as appealing as it might be. And then also program accreditation is another one. Once again, if you have a very specific idea of what you would like to do for a career, I'm just going to use social work. as an example. Oftentimes you cannot get admitted to a master's in social work program if you attended an unaccredited undergraduate social work program. So just making sure that the program that you want to attend is accredited. Another big one is career readiness and resources. Every college has a career center. That being said, how much that career center is accessible to you and works for you is going to be different at every college. And once again, depending on your career end goal, you might need to do some types of internships or placements or practicums and seeing what the access and opportunity is at the schools you're considering. Extracurricular opportunities is another big one. If you are, passionate about theater, if you are passionate about something even like pickleball, just making sure, that the school you're interested in offers some of those things where you're not just going to be in the classroom, you're going to be, a member of this campus community, and making sure that you have these avenues to, explore your passions and really enjoy life outside of just the classroom. Size is another big one. This was something that in my personal experience, I didn't really consider as a factor. And I went to what I would consider a mid-sized school, but I grew up in a very small town and graduated high school with like under 100 kids in my class. And I was very, overwhelmed and underprepared to be in such a large campus environment. And thinking about what size of a school and size of classes that you're comfortable with is a big consideration. And then another big one is support services. Something in the past decade that I think higher education has done really well is put a lot more emphasis on those support services. But if you already know that having access to certain accommodations, such as if you have a 504 or an IEP in high school, and we're hoping to continue those accommodations in college, if you know that you're going to be accessing a campus counseling center, just making sure that the campus and the school is able to support you in the ways that you need to be supported. Go to the next slide. So starting the application process, it's definitely intimidating. And one thing I hear from my students all the time, even if they've had older siblings who have gone through this process, is like, well, no one teaches us how to apply for college. And that's normal. This is something that we've all had to figure out and all had to go through. My biggest piece of advice here is to work with your school counselor, your college counselor, your academic advisor, just to make sure that you're, first of all, on track to graduate from your high school, and that you have a strong academic schedule and extracurricular list. And once again, this is something that's great to start this conversation freshman year, working with your school counselor, your college counselor, to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success and to make sure that all these doors are open to you. Another thing is to be aware of any specific courses, tests, et cetera, that could affect your eligibility to apply to certain programs at colleges. One example I'm going to use is engineering. There are many, many engineering schools and programs out there that will not even consider your application if you haven't taken at least through pre-calculus in high school. So once again, depending on your school's math curriculum, this might be something that you need to start thinking about freshman or sophomore year to ensure that you have the room in your schedule and are on a path to make sure that you're graduating high school having taken something like pre-calculus. Once again, with like a specific test, this has been in the news a lot, the SAT and other standardized tests, whether they're being required or not, it's starting to come back at some schools. Once again, some certain programs at certain schools might require this, even though the general admission requirement does not. A great example is Army and other ROTC programs. The school you're applying to might not require the SAT or another standardized test. Up here in the Northeast, we most commonly see the SAT. But if you're planning on doing an ROTC scholarship, you will still need that standardized test score. Another thing is just to become familiar with the various applications. Some of the big ones are the Common App, the Coalition App, QuestBridge National Match is another great program that's out there to explore. And just figuring out how you're going to apply to all these schools. Some schools are not on any of these programs and have their own individual applications, so just planning for that. And then really making sure you're utilizing the summer between your junior and senior year for doing things such as college visits, some experiential learning opportunities, such as an internship or a summer abroad, things that can really help your application to stand out, and taking advantage of that time. It's a great time for exploring different majors or careers that you might want to be pursuing. And then the big one, which is can be so hard for especially some high school students when you have so much else going on in your life, but just get organized. Become familiar with deadlines, utilize spreadsheets or organizational planners or whatever works for you. But senior year goes quickly and these deadlines come up, and making sure that you're on top of it. Go to the next slide. So some of my biggest pieces of advice, and this first one here is really, the advice I most often give parents is to let your student own the process. Students, this is your future. And like I said, you're so busy. It's really overwhelming, but if you really take ownership of both this college search and application process, I think the outcome is going to be so much better and you're going to be so much happier with that outcome. Another big one is to try to not compare yourself to your peers, and not just your peers, but try to not compare yourself to everyone out there on social media and TikTok. Like I said, it is such a personal process, and what is a good fit for you college wise is not a good fit for everyone, and vice versa. And it can be really easy to get hung up on things like acceptance rates and prestige and that brand name. But really looking internally at what is going to be the best fit for you. Another big one is it's okay to be undecided. Like, you do not need to know what you want to major in. And maybe even in some cases, it would be beneficial to be undecided when you're applying to a school. Like I said earlier, our brains don't stop developing until we're 24. And it's okay to not know what you want to do. And it might feel at times like all of your friends and all of your classmates know exactly what they want to do. And as a school counselor who hears from them all the time, I can promise you that they don't know either. And that's totally fine. Another thing is to demonstrate your interest in a school and to engage with them early and often. Once again, this is why I love starting this conversation with freshmen. Not every college does this, but some colleges actually do track demonstrated student interest and consider that in the application process. And I know from being in your shoes as a student, when you're going through this process, it can feel like you are doing everything you can to get these colleges to want you as a student. But seeing it on the other side is these colleges also want students who want them and who want to go there for the right reasons. And so if you have done your due diligence, if you've done your research, you will be able through your application and through the engagement process to demonstrate a genuine interest in these schools. And they will then know that you don't just want to go there because they have this fancy name, or because they're popular in social media, or because their sports team won the national championship, that you have legitimate reasons for wanting to attend this school. Another big one is just to utilize the resources that are available to you via your high school and your networks. There's so many nuances to this process, and every high school is different. Every community is different. The opportunities that every student has had are different, and making sure that you are utilizing all of those resources that are available to you throughout this process. And then the last one, my biggest piece of advice, is that college is a huge investment, not just of your money, obviously, but also of your time. This is 2 to 4 years that you are going to be spending, and it's a critical 2 to 4 years in your life. And you just want to make sure that investment is worthwhile. And that can look like many things, but really at the heart of it, I think it's making sure that you end up in a place where you're going to be happy, you're going to feel supported, and you're going to get an education that is going to contribute positively to your future. A great thing about college, though, so different than high school, is that if you really don't like it, you can transfer. And if you really don't like your major, you can change your major. You can change your major many times. And so it's a little more flexible in that way. And as you learn what you like, learn what you want, that those things may change, and that's okay. And that's it from advice from a school counselor.
Thank you so much, Molly. That was amazing. And then if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in our Q&A or chat. That was awesome and amazing. So our next one, we're going to be moving on to Tyler, who will be going over our deadlines, essays, and more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Tyler Boyle. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at New York University here in New York City. And I've been, I haven't only worked at NYU, I've worked at a variety of institutions, but I also got to study abroad with CIEE when I was a junior in college. And I had a great time. So I'm very excited that you all are here, and I'm here to talk a little bit more about the college application deadlines and some of the things that will go into the college application. So the first thing to know is just that there are a variety of deadlines when you're applying to college. The most kind of common deadlines and types of applications are going to be early decision, early action, regular decision, and then rolling admissions. And each college kind of does it a little bit differently. And so first, I want to talk a little bit about what early decision means. Usually an early decision application is a binding agreement. And so it means that you can apply to one school that you are very excited about early decision. And you can only apply to that one school early decision, but then you can apply to every other school regular decision, let's say. And then you hear back, you apply usually in early to mid-November for early decision round one. And you usually hear back sometime in mid-December. If you are admitted to that school early decision, you are essentially saying, I will come here no matter what, and you have to withdraw all of your other applications. So it's really an opportunity for you to say, I'm all in on this one institution, and this is where I want to go if I'm admitted. And if you are admitted, you have to say no and pull out your applications from every other school. Early action, though, is a little bit different, where it can be or it cannot be binding. And so there is some early action where you can apply early and get your admissions decision early as well, but still apply to other institutions and get your admissions decisions and then still choose where you want to go. However, there is something called restrictive early action, which is an early action agreement that you can only apply to one school early action and get your admissions decision early. All of this is to say, back to Molly's point earlier, is that you need to be able to kind of be organized with all of your college applications and their deadlines so that you know what you're getting yourself into, really. Regular decision, though, and rolling admissions is where you can apply to as many schools as you want and get your admissions decisions back and then apply and then accept which offer of admission kind of feels most appropriate to you. And so there is no right way. Some students want to apply early decisions. Some students don't because they don't want to commit that early on. And it really is just a decision that you and your family have to make about what feels best to you in the college admissions process. But most importantly, like Molly said, and what it says down at the bottom of my slide, is to plan ahead and to stay on top of your deadlines so that you don't get stressed out and apply and fill out the entire application, the night before, because that does not create a very strong application from my experience. But we can kind of push past deadlines and start talking about some of the more exciting elements about your application. So when you are applying to college, you will usually, submit all of your academic materials, usually your transcripts, your test scores if they're required. If they're optional, you get to choose if you want to submit your test scores or not. We'll also receive letters of recommendation. We'll receive, your extracurricular list, your clubs and activity involvement. But my personal favorite part of the application is going to be the essay. So if you're applying with the Common application, with the Coalition application, the QuestBridge application, or a school-specific application, you are likely going to have to write an essay at some point in your college application process. So the first thing that I like to bring up is, why does this essay matter? First and most importantly, it's really the first time in your application that I, as an admissions officer, or any of my colleagues, or any other admissions officers who are reading your applications, gets to hear your voice in the application process. The transcript is a lot of numbers or grades. The testing has a very small part of, of the whole academic picture. Your letter of recommendation is coming from someone else, so usually a school counselor or a coach or someone who is in a position of authority to talk about who you are as a person. But the essay is really where your voice gets to come through the application. It's where we get to meet you and learn something new about who you are as an individual. And my favorite thing is I can read, 4,000 applications in an admission season. And that's going to be 4,000 different essays. Everyone can have the same GPA, but each essay is going to be unique to that one individual person. And so that really allows you to set yourself apart in terms of telling your story in the application process. It also can help certain admissions offices determine institutional fit for the university, which we'll talk about supplements in just a little bit. And most importantly, it is the one part of the application that you as an applicant have total control over. And so you really get to take ownership into this part of the application and share your story with a room full of admissions professionals who really care about listening to who you are as an individual. But all of that said, it is important to know your audience. So are you writing the common application essay for all schools and it's going to be read by every admissions office that you're submitting this application to? Are you writing a specific college essay for a specific college supplement for a specific college? Are you writing an essay for a financial scholarship? Are you writing an essay for an honors program? It's important to kind of know who you're talking to so that you can get ahead and create the best essay for the purpose that you're writing it for. Choosing what to write, though, that is the next question. That's the next thing that you get to kind of figure out. So the first thing to know is you should choose the right prompt. And the right prompt is not kind of an equation or an answer to a question, but rather the prompt that really resonates the most with you. We don't want you to write what you think we want you to write, but rather we want you to write what you want to write. And we really want to get to know you in the application process. So feel free to choose a prompt or create your own prompt that best sits with you and that you feel like you can really write a strong essay about. And then after you write your essay, it's important to ask yourself, does what I just wrote address the prompt and answer the question that the prompt is asking me? And if it doesn't, you might want to backtrack a little bit and figure out how to answer that question or perhaps choose a different prompt. And this is where applying and writing the essay 24 hours before the deadline is not a good idea. Another opportunity in terms of choosing what to write is to pick a moment in time. Writing about 18, 19, 17 years of your life could fill up 600 pages of a book. So don't feel like you need to fit your entire life story into those 500 words, but rather pick a moment of time and stay focused. Also, like I said, feel free to tell a personal story because it's the only opportunity that we get to hear from you in the application process. And also be specific. Let us know exactly what you're trying to say. Like, don't say I am perseverant because I persevere through trials and tribulations, but I am perseverant because I have overcome this, or I am a dedicated student because I did this in the classroom, things along those lines. Also, in terms of influence and impact, just thinking about what you were trying to get across and what parts of your application or what parts of your story you want to tell in the essay, whether it's you wanting to highlight something else from your life that is not covered in the application, or if it is a part of your application that you'd rather just expand upon. It's really up to you to choose what kind of influence you want to have. And it goes right into the new information bullet as well. It's a matter of, do you want to share a new part of yourself with us or expand on something that you've already talked about a little bit? To talk a little bit about some misconceptions is that we recognize as admissions officers that you are 18 years old, likely seniors in high school. Maybe you're graduating early. Maybe you're taking a gap year because you're studying abroad with CIEE and applying a year later. And so we understand that you are at a very specific time in your life and that you are essentially writing this essay because you want to get into college. And so that is totally okay. And I feel like a lot of times I talk to students and they're like, I feel like I have to write something that you've never read before. As an admissions professional, I've probably read 5,000 essays in my career so far. And a lot of those essays are fairly similar. But the one thing that is different is the personal voice that comes through and the story that gets to be shown in the essay. So don't feel like you have to create something out of thin air, but rather just feel comfortable talking about who you are and an important part of yourself in the essay, and that's exactly what we're looking for. For example, a lot of students are like, I've never competed in the Olympics or jumped out of an airplane. And that's totally okay because, again, we recognize that you're 17, 18, 19 years old, and that's a-okay. And also there's this new thing going around about trauma dumping, and you have to write about bad things in your essays to stand out in the college admissions process. And I'm not telling you not to do that, but also you don't feel like you need to do that because there are so many different elements of who you are as a person that you get to share with us, that you don't feel like you need to pick the most traumatic thing that has happened to you and write that into your college essay. In fact, one of my favorite essays last year that I read was just about a girl in her room and the curtains that were in her room and how the curtains changed as she grew up. It was a very easy essay, but it was kind of a story about, growing up and how things change, but also remain the same. And so really thinking about how you want to tell your story in terms of the process is going to be the most important thing. Also going into the process a little bit more, I find some of the most successful essays allow students the opportunity to free write beforehand, and they just kind of word dump and then edit it down instead of trying to get to a certain amount of words. And that's where coming in and writing multiple drafts is okay, because you don't want to submit your first draft, because very seldomly does any author in the world write a good first draft for any essay or book. So definitely spend a little bit of time using your network to talk a little bit about how to edit your essay. Again, think of a goal as well. Like, what goal do you want to accomplish in submitting this essay? Like, what is your purpose? Who is your audience? Definitely proofread. We don't, I, at least in my office, I'm okay if there are a couple of grammatical errors or some mistakes in the essay. That's not something that I am particularly looking for. But definitely make sure that your essay has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and has a good flow. And then also, finally, last but not least, read your essay out loud. Does it sound like you? Because we're, again, looking for you to come to our institution and not what you think we want to hear. We're not looking for a thesaurus essay either. We're not looking for you to sound, like a thesaurus in your essay, but rather we just want to hear who you are using your own authentic voice. And last but not least, we're going to jump really briefly and talk a little bit about supplements. And so some of those essays are, some of the things that we just talked about are for the kind of general essay that you might be submitting for college. But there are also school-specific essays, or for example, if you're applying to CIEE, there might be some CIEE-specific supplements as well. And so this is where you really need to be specific, and not just tell part of your story, but rather really respond to the prompt. And so, for example, this most recent year, our NYU supplemental essay was to pick a quote. We offered 6 from recent NYU grads, including one from Taylor Swift, about being the change that you want to see in the world, and then responding to the quote and what kind of it instills in you. And so when responding to a supplement or writing a supplemental essay, you really want to make sure that you're focused on what the purpose is. And synthesize what you know about the school and what you know about yourself and how it answers that prompt, so that we can kind of get a larger understanding of how you fit into the program that you're applying into or into the institution or things along those lines. I'm happy to answer any questions about essays or the college application process in the chat, but I think I'm going to leave it here for now and turn it back over to you, Ariel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler. That was all great information. And then again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A, and Tyler will definitely be able to answer everything that comes in regarding essays and tips and tricks. Awesome. And then speaking of tips and tricks, Justin and Sarah are going to be leading us through the next section of our presentation. And go ahead and get started.
Hey y'all, so my name is Justin. I am from Houston, Texas. I went to University of Texas at Austin, Hook 'em Horns. And so I just want to tell you guys a little bit about my experience and how I applied to college. So I went to Pearland High School. And I was never really aware that how to apply to college. I just knew I was expected to apply to college. And so my junior year, my counselor pulled me and a few kids aside and she told us about this program called QuestBridge. And so I'm first generation low income single parent household. So like I met all the qualifications by my district for the free lunch. And so because I qualified for that and I was like in AP classes in the top 6% of my class, me and a few other students were pulled aside because we were very intelligent, but just underrepresented and underfunded. And so I mentioned that because QuestBridge is a great way if you're worried about any finances to pay for school. I applied to the program, didn't get accepted, but like I've heard and know tons of people who've gone to Vanderbilt or top schools off of QuestBridge. But just highlighting my experience, I remember what I'll say is like in terms of writing your essay, make it very personal. People remember personal things. And I know it was just mentioned, don't trauma dump. And I definitely don't recommend trauma dumping. But I will say, like, me, I'm Black. So that's always going to be mentioned in my essay. If you're LGBTQ, mention that. If you're a refugee, mention that. If you're an immigrant, mention that. If you're any kind of ism or any that you can be, mention that because it just highlights it and I think it goes on to show who you are, but also because it does help with diversity quotas and demographics when universities are looking at across different applications. um, Lastly, I would say is in high school, I know everyone's worried about like a perfect 4.0, and that's great. And I definitely, like shoot for the stars. But I will say also, build some experience, build some work experience, show that you have some initiative outside of school, start an organization, volunteer at a community shelter or a nonprofit, go and get a job. For example, me, I worked full time at Chick-fil-A while I was in high school. So I did marching band up until my senior year. Then my senior year, I stopped marching band to work full time. And so I just say all of these things because I did have the 4.0. I was in marching band, was the class president, did found a club, but I also had these outside components that weren't just educational, which I think really can speak for a strong applicant. Next slide, please. So my tips for applying, I have quite a few tips in all honesty. First, I'll say it's like kind of touching what was addressed earlier. When you think about picking your university, I'd really recommend looking to consider maybe doing community college for 2 years and staying at home. Like if you're from a small town or if finances are a thing, or if you just don't know what you want to do yet, I definitely recommend getting your basics. One, it saves money, but also just because you really don't get into your major heavy classes until you get into your junior year of school. And so I also say like look at like where you go to college as well in the area around it. For example, like at UT Austin, average rent is $1,200 a month. So take that into consideration, the cost of living around. That's what a lot of people don't talk about. But this is really one tip. Like I really want someone y'all to take away from this is when you look at these top universities, these Ivy Leagues, these Swarthmore schools, these top schools like UT Austin, look at the cost of living around campuses because you will be very shocked. And like what happened to me, I got into UT Austin, great. Then I get there and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. They just kind of throw you in the middle of Austin, Texas, very expensive, paying what my mom pays at home for rent in Houston. So be very aware about that and have that discussion with your family. But my tips for applying would just be know your audience, know who you're talking to. You are talking to college admissions advisors. You're not talking to your friends, not talking to your family. So have be a little more professional in your tone and don't use big words if you don't sound natural using big words. But also, if you do know your SAT vocabulary, do not shy away from using your SAT vocabulary. Like, I just think, it also does make you stand out. And this was mentioned as well, draft, pre-write. Like, the way I write is like, I take the topic and it's any thoughts that comes to mind, boom, 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 just jot down all the thoughts that come to your mind, whether it makes sense or not. And when you're thinking and you run out of the sentence, just start making up words. And so when you come back and read that sentence later, like your mind will start completing those made up words that you just put there. Read your paper from bottom to top, have other people read your paper, do a pre-write, and then come back and let it sit, I'll say for a minimum of 3 days, and then draft it again. Also show your teachers, your managers at work. Don't shy away from sharing your work because I'd say especially in high school, teachers will maybe be as close to what a college admissions advisor would be. And so they can have some insight that they can share and clarity in your story. I would also say research the university, like if you want to go to a school for a certain program and it's kind of asking why are you a fit, well, a response would be, well, I'm a great fit because I seek to study this major and get involved in this program, and this is the only university that has this program, and the name of this program is this. And I just say all of that because when you do your research, just like it was mentioned earlier, universities want people that know that they want them. So you have to be very proactive, do your research, definitely show that you know what the school has to offer, and you're not just here to be a bandwagon. Yeah, I kind of touched on this, exploit detriments. That is very dramatic when I say exploit. I don't literally mean exploit, but like I mentioned earlier, if you were DACA, like if you have some kind of underrepresentation or you are underfunded or underserved, just definitely make sure that Shine Student speaks in your essay because that does help with admissions. That sometimes like when they look at transcripts and they might see, you know, a grade is somewhere, well, they might take into consideration, oh, English is not someone's first language, or oh, this person was doing this during the semester, took care of this person. So just be very communicative when you are writing. And then last one I touched on how to read the paper backwards and proofread, have a contingency plan. Never, never, never assume that plan A is going to go as it's planned because it usually doesn't. My number one school was Columbia University, and then it was Stanford. Didn't get into Columbia, waitlisted by Stanford. I literally only got accepted into OU and UT Austin. And I decided to go to UT Austin. And so those were my contingency plans, UT Austin and OU. So I just recommend, you know, even if your contingency plan is community college or anything, definitely have one. And so my advice, don't take rejection personal. It's not personal at all. It's literally one person reading thousands of applications. Maybe yours didn't speak to them that day. Maybe they didn't have lunch. Maybe they didn't have their coffee. Don't take it personal. I'm a huge person that like God's plan, and I have faith in everything. You didn't get into the one school. Who knows what kind of opportunities are waiting for you at another school? Another advice, write a letter of continued interest if you are waitlisted to schools. This is something I didn't know. Like I said, I was waitlisted to Stanford, and then months later I mentioned it to my brother, and he was like, oh, you should have wrote a letter of continued interest so that schools know you're still interested. So if you are waitlisted, definitely, like it was mentioned earlier, just take that initiative and show that you are. And then also another advice, you can always transfer. Like my brother went to UT his first year, didn't like it, transferred to Columbia University his second year and finished undergrad there. So you can always transfer even after a semester, a year, but I would definitely just say like your first plan is not always what you'll go with. And then my last advice is start a LinkedIn now. Like actually a few like pieces of advice, start a LinkedIn now. Everyone wants to be an Instagram influencer, but honestly, in this day and age, LinkedIn influencing is the thing. Like, if you're in college and you're going to events and you're influencing, and you're like, and you're in high school saying, "Hi, it was a pleasure to volunteer this week for this cause," like that looks so mature of you, and colleges will see that. Also spreadsheets, like I spreadsheet everything. So if you're applying to multiple colleges, have the due dates, the college apps, the application, and all different subcategories in a spreadsheet so you can access it easy. I use Google Calendar, I use Outlook Calendar, I use a daily planner, like prioritize, organize. That is the best thing. That is the best piece of advice I can give anyone. Organize and start now because you don't want to go into university and not having that skill. So write things down, take them notes, and yeah, that's all I have to share. And if anyone is interested in UT, feel free to reach out, study international relations and global studies. So Bailey, if you can drop the resources, there are a few scholarships that I'll drop out there. These are for university students. So it's like boring, there's critical language. There's a few others. There's like seizing every opportunity, SEO, all of these different scholarships. So if you're in school and you're interested in foreign language or international relations, these can actually pay to help you study a underserved language and then study abroad. And then SEO is so there are people who are interested in law school. They have a law program like this summer going into law school. I know I'm talking very far ahead, but I just like these are resources I wish I knew about. So I just want to share with everyone. And SEO has tons of like fellowships and different internships and programs that are good for professional development and look good on the resume. And then lastly, the last advice is FAFSA. do your FAFSA the day it's released, do your FAFSA in October. Don't wait to do your FAFSA after October, because when it's released, that's when like the most money comes out. That's when you have a likelihood of getting more grants or scholarships versus loans. So make sure you stay on top of the FAFSA deadline and do that on time. Thank you, guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Ladipo, and I just have a couple of tips. I know all my colleagues have went into depth of a lot of good advice, so I kind of just wanted to make it short and sweet, but also still very helpful. Just kind of telling a little bit more about myself. During college, I graduated just last year, and I went abroad with CIEE to Rome, Italy, Cape Town, South Africa, Singapore, and Merida, Mexico, on their open block campus program through a scholarship that was covered by my university at Ohio University. I got a full ride scholarship to OU that also covered studying abroad my senior year, which was an amazing opportunity. And after I'm done talking, I'll make sure to drop the scholarship in the chat if anyone's interested. I'm from Ohio University, but a lot of people that aren't in state come to Ohio University too. So for me, my application process was a unique one because I think Molly mentioned like the difference between wanting to stay in state and out of state. I knew I definitely wanted to stay in state. I have 3 older sisters and we all went to Ohio schools, and just having family close by was very important to me. So that's why I chose in-state. So when I was applying on the Common App, I was just applying to Ohio schools, and I started to apply to Ohio University, and there was like a kind of like blurb about saying, hey, talk about your experience in your community that you've like helped implement something. And at the time, I didn't know I was applying to a full ride scholarship program. It just like had it as an option that was optional. So I kind of just talked about in my very like suburb community, talking about how me and my friends, we started the first Black History Month production at my school. And we then were able to make it available to community members. And that was something that I did for my community. And after a couple months later, I got an email of them telling me that they want to interview me for a full ride scholarship. So I just find that really interesting because, or that's my advice to sometimes on the Common App, mind you, I did this in 2019. I'm not sure if it's different nowadays, but there will be opportunities to apply for additional things that they may not tell you that it's for a full ride scholarship or for a scholarship at all. But I encourage you to just apply to those, or just kind of add in as much information as you can in your application, because that was the difference from me getting that full ride scholarship and not me just doing an optional like essay. So that was like a really big piece of advice that I wanted to give you guys. And I think also when it comes to scholarships, besides the ones that are offered like through the Common App or on like the university's website, there are external scholarships out there specifically for people in minority groups or just in general that you can apply to. For me, I definitely needed the scholarships. So I feel like if anyone can get free money, why not apply? So like apply. And I think it's also important to ask your financial office, like the college that you're applying for, asking them like if there's any extra scholarships that may not be on the website, or just telling them, just being very open with them, saying that, hey, I got accepted to this school and I need additional funding. I have several friends that have done that, and just taking the extra step, asking for help, allowed them to get some scholarships that would cover their meal plan or cover room and board. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Closed mouths don't get fed. So I think that's also another piece of advice. And I think there's definitely a lot of different people with different desires for college. And I feel like if you're the person that just wants to get your degree and get out, that's not bad. I know a lot of people are focused on a lot of different things with like the university and like the extra things, which is not bad. But I also want to like at least pay a little bit of attention to the people that are just kind of wanting to get their degree and get out, because I was kind of similar with that. I wanted to go to a good school for the major I was in and like make sure I get the skills I need in order to get a job. And didn't pay too much attention to like the extras, but luckily my school had extra things like that. Just keeping in mind that like there's every university will have people that you've never met before that you can become friends with or just network with. These are at every university. There's professors like they're going to teach you the skill that you hopefully need to know in order to master your understanding in any career, in any field. So just having a, I think, open mind to like what, hopefully with whatever college I go to, I'll ultimately get the skill, but also find community, find people that I would have never known before without going to that university, whether it's in state or out of state. And just kind of having that kind of positive mindset of like, hopefully no matter what, as Justin mentioned, if it's not your top one, this was my first pick, you will still have a good experience and get that degree, get that knowledge for your future career, and meet hopefully lifelong friends, and just be able to utilize all the things that your university has to offer. Yeah, I think that's my main three piece of advice. I know all my colleagues went into more depth on a lot of other things.
Thank you so much, Sarah and Justin. So now we're going to be transitioning into our CIEE first year abroad and gap programs. So CIEE, we are a study abroad organization offering programs for high school students, college students, post-college students. I actually went abroad with CIEE as well after college and did a teach abroad program. So you might wonder, why study abroad in college? Why go abroad in high school? There's a number of different reasons why students should study abroad now, later on, when they're older. It's just some reasons are you make lifelong connections. I guarantee you, everyone here who has studied abroad still has friends that they talk to that they met on their abroad trip. You gain a whole new skill set. This comes with being adaptable, being comfortable in the uncomfortable, conflict resolution, all stuff that you think you can't handle. You get put in a situation and you learn how to do it. And the skills that you take from that make you ready for anything in life. You identify new interests. So let's say you're unsure what you might want to major in or what you might want to do as a career. Going abroad can really help solidify and kind of give you some answers just with meeting other people, networking, seeing what other people are doing. I have friends who went abroad and ended up figuring out what they love to do and ended up staying there and really networking and finding people to work for. And getting work visas. So it kind of all depends on what you're interested in and just learning new interests while you're there. You also could develop your passions into a career. For example, when I was in school, I majored in graphic design and now I am working in international education. I had no idea I even wanted to do that and no idea that was even an option for me. So going abroad really opened up all new horizons for me and brought me into a career that I didn't even know was an opportunity for me. You gain global insights from world-class instructors. You get to explore the world, which is just the biggest plus. And then you also get to stand out on college applications and on your resume. So whether you're doing a high school program in summer or semester, you get to put that on your college essay, for example, because I guarantee you, you're going to learn stuff and it's going to make you stick out from every other student that is applying to the school because you have worldly experience that makes you adaptable, that colleges will see and appreciate. And then also if you do study abroad, maybe in a gap year, or you go abroad in our first year abroad program, you get to use that experience and leverage it on your application as well. Awesome. So who is CIEE and why choose us? So CIEE is a nonprofit study abroad organization. We have been bringing the world together since 1947. So we've been sending students abroad for over 75 years. We support over 30,000 students every year, whether that be our high school programs, college, post-college. And then we also are a nonprofit organization. So that means we're here for you. We just want to make the world a travel worldly place. And with the nonprofit comes lots of scholarships and lots of opportunities. So definitely a way to take advantage of going abroad. And then we also operate our own study centers, which is very unique. So in each location that CIEE offers, there's a CIEE home base, basically with CIEE staff, whether they're local, whether they're transplants. A great way to meet other people in the community, whether it be college students who are going on a CIEE program or high school students who are doing a semester. Basically helps you network and you have a whole community around you. So our two programs for post high school, we have two. We have our first year abroad and gap year abroad program. I'll start with first year abroad program. This is our newest study abroad program. Basically, it allows students to study abroad the freshman year instead of waiting for their sophomore or junior year of college, which is pretty typical to go abroad. So you get to start college in one of 14 global locations, and you'll be earning 12 to 13 college credits through first year abroad school of record, which is Dean College. It's a cute liberal arts school in Franklin, Massachusetts. It's a perfect option if you're seeking an alternate path to your dream school or want to take time to determine your next steps. Basically, it allows you the option to enroll in college without having to enroll in a specific school, but you get to enroll through CIEE with the help of Dean College and get transcripts through us or through Dean College that you were able to transfer into either one of our partner schools, into a dream school of your choice, or you have direct enrollment into Dean College since you've already enrolled with them. So it's a great opportunity for students. Since this is also a college program, it is fully eligible for FAFSA, which makes it a huge standout from a lot of other programs and a huge way to be able to go abroad for all different types of people. And then we also have another option, which is our Gap Year Abroad program. This is more of a language and cultural exchange program. You're basically taking 15 to 20 hours per week of language classes at a local university. Students are living with host families abroad. So this could be for students that want to learn a new language, that maybe don't want to learn a new language, that have been learning a language, and they really want to take their language skills to the next level. So we have different locations for this. So for students that maybe are learning Spanish in school and they're pretty good and they really want to become fluent, they could take a placement test and be put in a higher language class in Sevilla, Spain, where our location is, and really come back with a whole new skill set and language certificates that, again, look great on college applications. And then same for first year abroad. You say you went abroad, you did all these classes your freshman year in a different country, giving yourself a whole new challenges than just any freshman would have. It looks great for a transfer student that is transferring into another school. So here are our different locations. Our website has a list of all of our programs, terms, and tentative dates for these programs, and just some info like a day in the life, and some other fun info about what life is like in all of these countries. So our first year abroad program is a 12-week program. Students can take 12 to 13 credits, 3 to 4 courses per terms. Both of these programs are actually offered for either semester or academic year. So you could do a year for first year abroad, or you could just do a semester and then transfer into as a second semester freshman or first semester sophomore. I like to think of it as like, imagine you go to community and you're taking general education classes at a community college. You're doing the same transfer process that you would be doing just with CIEE. So students can choose from fall or spring or could do academic years. For our first year abroad program, you can do 6 weeks in, let's say, Paris and do another 6 weeks in London. Or if you want to do a semester in Kyoto, Japan and do a semester in Sevilla, Spain, you also have the option for that too. For our gap year programs, you could do a semester academic year as well. We offer 6 different locations for that. So the first year abroad locations are going to be the ones with the asterisks, and then gap years, everything else, but everything is offered in our first year abroad program as well. And then, so what you'll need to apply to a first year abroad or gap year abroad program. Our application is pretty straightforward. Everything is on our website. When you go look at your location that you want to go to and open up application, it's going to bring you to a different page called Polaris. Basically, it's where you're going to be filling out all the application details, kind of personal details, your name, address, date of birth, the name of your high school that you're currently enrolled in, your program that you want to go to, your high school graduation, where you want to go. This is basically for all of our applications, regardless if you're high school, freshman, or in college. You're going to want to put in emergency contacts, your passport information. No worries if you don't currently have a passport, but we do recommend that get started on it. And if you can, expedite the process, because I promise you it comes up faster than you think it does. And you never know how long that your personal passport location is going to take. Sometimes it could take 6 weeks, sometimes it could take 3 months. You just never know. And then you're going to want to upload your high school transcripts and your GPA for our gap year and first year abroad programs. There is an eligibility of a 2.7 or higher for first year abroad, and then 2.5 or higher for gap year. You're also going to want to get a recommendation letter from a previous or current instructor. This is only required for our first year abroad program. It's kind of just like you'd have to get a recommendation letter if you were applying to any school in the US, and then health information. And then you're going to get to choose 3 program locations that you would also be interested in, just in case one fills up too much, depending on when you open an application and submit it. It's kind of a first come, first serve basis. A get to know you section. So this goes along with short essay questions, an essay as well. Same exact advice that Tyler and Justin and Sarah and Molly gave. You want to be specific. Talk about your life in this application and this essay. We want to get to know you. We want to know why you'd be a good fit for studying abroad, and just make sure it's a good fit for you too. And then you're going to want your legal guardian's acknowledgement, because we obviously want to keep them in the know, because it's always scary sending your student abroad to a different country. And then a dean college application. So once you go ahead and fill out the application for first year abroad with CIEE, you're going to be redirected to dean college. It's a super simple process. We will help walk you through it as well. It's just basically getting some more information, so then they can accept you into the program as well. So how can international experiences help you stand out on applications? So many great schools care about international education. I'm sure anyone here or has been working with colleges can tell you that the world becomes increasingly more globalized and interconnected, and then global citizens are at the forefront of advancements. Like I said, you're getting lifelong skills that you're going to take from you into college. And this is skills that you're not going to get just staying at home or going to any experience. So you'll expand your network around the world by making lifelong connections, developing beneficial skills, and enhancing your problem solving, leadership, intercultural communications, being prepared with strong abilities in studying, academic writing, research, and time management. This is all stuff that you can write about on your college application, and you could even put it in your resume, which I'm sure everyone here has in their resume, is that they went abroad and look at all these skills that they learned from it. Here's a little snippet from one of our high school semester alumni. They wrote, "I learned generally very important life skills that most people don't learn until later on in their lives," which helped me to set me apart in college applications. I learned to navigate the world on my own, both physically and emotionally. My experience transitioning into college was significantly easier than most people around me, because I had already gone through a similar experience and learned how to live away from home. Which I think is an awesome quote, and it's a perfect example of what studying abroad can do for you. Awesome. So we have different deadlines. Sorry, it's getting so dark. But our different deadlines for our first year abroad is, we had a January 5th early deadline, but obviously that has passed. So our next final deadline is May 1st. If you do get your application in for our fall semester by May 1st, you are put in a raffle to win up to a free semester to study abroad. And then we also have a spring deadline, which is July 17th, and then the final deadline is September 4th. So if you are a senior right now and you don't know what you want to do next year, or if you maybe got deferred or waitlisted, or you didn't get into your dream school and you just don't know what you want to do, look into first year abroad. It's a great opportunity to still be able to graduate in your timeline and be able to transfer into a 4-year, a 2-year, a private, public, community. It gives you a range of options while also having a whole new set of skills that you could come back and apply for that school and just look that much better. For our gap year abroad program, different deadlines, but kind of similar. Our priority is June 1st. If you do apply by June 1st, you get a $400 discount off the total cost of the program. And then final July 1st for fall. And then for spring, October 1st, and then the final is November 1st. So definitely time to figure that one out as well if you're not quite sure what you want to do next year. And then, like I said, here is our raffle. You can enter to win a free first year abroad fall 2024 program if you apply by May 1st. If you apply by April 3rd or April 1st, you will get 3 raffles or tickets in the raffle. And then all program fees will be covered up to a 24,000 value. And then though apply early, you'll have more even chances to win, be placed in your #1 program, and just all these other benefits that you won't have to worry about what you're doing. You kind of have your answer sooner than later. Awesome. So thank you guys so much for coming to our presentation of conquering college applications. I do want to open this up for Q&A for all of us, whether you have questions about our first year abroad, gap year abroad, if you have questions for Tyler, Sarah, Molly, or Justin. You could put it in the chat, or I could also unmute everyone and then we could have a whole session. I know we're kind of over time, but if you can stay, we will be here. Yeah, I think I went ahead and allowed everyone to talk, but if not, you could just send a message in the chat and we'll be sure to get to it. All right, well, it looks like there may be none, but no worries. We will be sending out the recording of this presentation to everyone who came today and maybe everyone who wasn't able to be live for the presentation. And then again, if you have any questions for our CIEE team, feel free to contact us at fya-gy@cie.org or call us at the 866-583-0332 number. This is all listed on our website as well. And then we also do have more upcoming webinars tomorrow and on the 7th. These will go over more specifics about our first year abroad program and gap year abroad program, what the application looks like, kind of tips and tricks on our side of stuff, and more program details. But thank you guys so much for coming, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. And thank you again to all of our panelists. I wish I had something like this when I was applying for school because I could have really used it.